Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grip Locked, Foundation Disc Golf's weekly podcast. I'm Hunter, joined as always by Trevor, and we are, 2 weeks away from the season starting? We're so close. We have almost made it through this whole off season with coming up with content for this podcast and sometimes pulling it out of thin air.
Thin air, for sure.
Making episodes appear out of nowhere. Poof, there they are. This week, though, we're talking through some All-Star Weekend details because as of the recording of this podcast on Wednesday, they just released what the All-Star Weekend is going to look like.
It's a bummer.
That's happening in 10 days. 9 days from when you're listening to this is when the All-Star Weekend is going down out in Arizona. So let's just run through it. So day one, it's a 2-day event. Day one, they're calling it the All-Star Doubles Day. It's going to be 2 loops of the 9-hole course. Basically, they took the Memorial course and shortened it into a 9-hole course. Well, elongated it into a 9-hole course, but half the holes. So you're going to play 2 loops in the 9-hole course. The first loop is going to be best shot. Second loop is going to be worst shot. One thing they didn't specify there is what type of worst shot we're playing. Is it the worst shot where once one person makes it, the hole's over, or is it worst shot where both players have to make the putt? Not a huge detail, but the second loop is worst shot. And then we have pairings. They broke down the pairings. So basically they had everyone seeded 1 through 8 on MPO and on FPO. 1 got paired up with 8, 2 with 7, yada, yada, yada. So that led us to Paul being paired up with Double G, Calvin and Kevin Jones, Ricky and Nico, Eagle, and Chris Dickerson. And then on the FPO side, we have Paige and Heather Young, Katrina Allen and Kona Panis, Sarah Hokum and Jessica Weiss, and then Haley King and Missy Gannon. So they're going to be the ones playing doubles against each other. And then day 2, it's going to go into single stroke play, but each player is going to start with the combined score from their team's doubles round. And then they're going to play singles, starting with that score for 2 loops of the 9-hole course. Best score after that individually wins it all.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, what do you think of the format here?
It's pretty bad. It makes no sense. So, first of all, initial problem is the selection of the teams. This is the second Pro Tour event consecutively where the higher seeded player is getting punished. Like, why? I don't understand why that is.
Well, they're trying to, in this case, make it
even it out, but like, it's still, it's a little confusing. But that, regardless of that, that's my very minute thing. Whatever. They're all world-class disc golfers. It is what it is. The next thing, why are we playing worst shot at an event meant to display our best players? I like, that just doesn't, all-star games in any sport are meant to like put highlights on display. We don't want to see guys having to scramble every single hole because somebody's throwing out of bounds. Worst shot, terrible idea.
Yeah.
Number 3 problem, and maybe this is the biggest, this format stinks. So like, why on earth are you carrying over a double score into singles stroke play? So like, you're basically depending on somebody for like the first day and then you're competing against them the next day. So like, it's never been, like, I've never even seen this done before. Like, it doesn't make any sense. The format stinks.
Only thing I'm confused about.
They're overdoing it.
One thing I'm confused about is why we're just now hearing the format. To where earlier today, when it was announced, Paul didn't even know the doubles carried over, and he's in the event.
Yeah.
Why was this not announced the day the All-Star format was announced?
There's a pretty simple solution. Just play doubles and have a winner, and then play singles and have a winner. It's not that hard.
I think it'll be kind of fun to watch just because it's going to be the first disc golf we see.
I wanted skills competitions.
I did too.
They could have not played at all and just done skills competitions.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So, first off, it's an exhibition. So there's nothing on the line. End of the day, who really cares what they're playing? Because they're playing disc golf and we get to watch it. I don't agree with the format. If it was up to me, here's what I would have done. If it was up to me, I would have on Saturday had distance contest, putting contest, and a gap hitting contest on Saturday. So it's like 3 different contests, and we're filming that because one thing about disc golf is like, when's the last time we saw Paul in a distance contest?
Yeah, I know.
You see Eagle all the time. You see Double G. Even Chris Dickerson. Have we ever seen Chris Dickerson in a putting contest or a distance contest? Because these are always like the side events at Worlds, and the players who are regularly competing to win a world title, and they're like Paul, Ricky. Really, you can pick. There's several who never do these distance contests and stuff. this is the perfect time. It's like before the season. Yeah. This is why you're showing up. Think like that. I would have loved to see how far is Paul actually throwing in a distance contest.
Right. Yeah.
Who knows? No one does because he's never done it. Same thing with like a putting contest. You know, the world putting champion is always a tainted title because the best putters in the world don't show up to a putting tournament.
Yeah.
Now they are. So like then that's another cool thing to see. And then something like a gap hitting or something. I don't know. It doesn't even have to be gap hitting, but some other like skills competition where we can actually see them do crazy stuff that you never see on the course. Like maybe it's like a thing where it's an obstacle course you're throwing the disc through and it gets harder the farther it goes. So by the end, you know, you're running against the clock and someone makes it all the way and they have to hit a 2-foot window for 150 feet and like one of them does it. Like that's mind boggling. Like you're never going to see it on the course. So we're never going to get to see it. It's a sideshow thing. So we never should see it on the course. But in an all-star format, it's just like the basketball game where you have the actual like skills passing, like the point guard competition. I forget what that one's called. Might literally be called the skills competition. Where they have to pass,
I know
dribble,
what you're talking about.
Like all of that stuff. It just shows how good these players actually are.
Right. Yeah. There's a big missed opportunity.
And then what I would have done, so that would have been Saturday, and then Sunday I would have just put them all into a match play bracket, which is something else again we never get to see.
Yeah.
And just have them play match play.
It seems shockingly underplanned for something that has existed, like been known about for quite some time. And like they were.
That's what I'm saying. Why are we just now hearing all these details?
You were able to get all the players you wanted there. You're not giving them any money. Well, there's nothing on the line that we know of.
It's not like they're advertising $50,000.
Right. So like they'd probably be down to do just about anything. So like why not a skill? Like the skills competitions would have been great.
Yeah, and it's
such a great opportunity, and they just blew it by giving us a format that stinks.
Yeah, I mean it might at least create close golf. A lot of people are going to watch it because it's the first time you can see disc golf.
Yeah, I'm not denying people aren't going to watch it.
But
I'm going to watch it, but like I'm just disappointed in the missed opportunity more so.
And we've been hearing behind the scenes for as long as I can remember, it was going to be match play. Like from the second it got brought up, it was like I thought it was a known thing that it was going to be match play, and now match play is not even in it at all. People were literally like, I heard people calling it the match play all-star event.
Literally, Paige Pierce posted a video, uploaded it yesterday, I'm pretty sure, where in the description of the YouTube video, she called it a match play event.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So, what are we doing?
Like, how did the players not even know what they're coming out to play?
Yeah, players don't seem to know much a lot of times.
Yeah, but
what's going on?
But is that because the Pro Tour in this scenario didn't know much?
Yeah. Well,
or is that just...
I don't know. Maybe
they knew if they published it, the players wouldn't come, and now they're all committed, so they have to come.
The format... I mean, they put in enough work to move some baskets around and design a different layout, but like...
That could have just been a local guy.
Yeah, it seems like they had something else in mind, and it got like somehow thrown off the rails, because there's no way this is what they were dreaming up for their all-star event. It was just like basic golf.
How is it any harder to put on how is it harder to do match play or something than playing doubles and singles?
Match play, it's not harder, but I'm saying if you're doing a full-blown skills competition, there's planning involved in that. You need distance, you need a big enough field. If you're doing like some gap hitting stuff, you might need to make some targets.
I mean, surely
there's a little more that
you're going to Arizona. Surely there's wide open places.
I'm just telling you that the logistics are
they're a little harder,
difficult.
But I mean, you announced this back in October and November.
I agree, which is why I think that they probably had different plans that got thrown off the rails somehow, because there's no way they just like announced this all-star game and like all they could come up with was let's play doubles and then singles.
And worst shot doubles at that.
Yeah, worst shot.
And let's put them on a 9-hole course.
And play it twice. It just does not sound great.
No, it just, all of it just, I mean, it's confusing. It's very confusing.
It's also like...
It's literally like, this is exactly what it's like. The freaking NBA All-Star game, when they made like, you win a quarter, the points don't matter, but in the fourth quarter, the points all of a sudden matter again.
Here's the thing about All-Star events in other sports and what makes them cool. This is why people like All-Star events in other sports. Number one, because the skills competitions. People show up for the dunk competition, or in baseball, the home run derby, or in hockey, they do a slap shot, who can hit the hardest slap shot and stuff like that. Okay, and then number two, in those all-star events, you got guys playing on teams with guys they normally wouldn't play on teams with. Those are the two appeals to an all-star event. So disc golf can't do the team thing because they're already like
they never play.
There's nothing special about us seeing all these players in one spot because they always are.
Yeah.
Nothing special about that. So they're trying. I feel like they're trying to swing it that way. And it's like we see that every weekend when they play.
Yeah.
The only thing they could have done
in every double event.
Right.
It's not like Discraft players only play with Discraft.
Yeah. The only thing they could have done to like get that all-star like feel is the skills competitions, and they are not doing any of them.
Yeah.
So like.
Even the speed gun would have been a cool thing to bring in.
Yeah, speed gun, putting, those two alone, so easy. Putting, speed gun, and distance, there's 3 things right there that would have taken 0 planning.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't get it. Maybe
even like a ace challenge where you have like a 200-foot hole and you give them like 10 shots.
Like something.
I don't know. And plus then I feel like if there's skills competition, you could have like made this a bigger thing than just 16 players, because then you could have I know
people.
Yeah, like the distance contest. Congratulations! I know Simon's elbow he couldn't be, but he was the first one that came to my mind. Like, congrats, Simon, on being selected to throw in the distance.
The
showcase.
guys that get picked for 3-pointer dunk contests in the NBA aren't necessarily all stars.
Yeah, exactly. But you're there and you get to compete for a pro tour distance contest.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to when it got announced on OT World, it said skills competition in it. So that was on the table at some point.
Yeah, I think they got derailed somehow, and I don't know how.
Maybe they couldn't find a wide open soccer field. I mean, like, what are we talking about?
That can't be it.
Like, that's what I'm saying. What derailed how?
I don't know. Something's not
You
right.
can put them on a football field and have them like try to throw through the uprights. I don't know. Do something. Give us something. But like this feels like an all-star weekend. I'm just watching the doubles that used to happen at like USDGC Pro Dubs or whatever, or mixed doubles. I don't know. I'm excited for it because it's disc golf and we haven't seen disc golf in a long time. But at the same time, it's a big missed opportunity. And we're branding it as our all-star weekend, which should be like a big draw in non-disc golf fans to see what these crazy things these people can do. And we're just throwing them worst shot doubles so that we can see someone park a 500-foot hole and guy throw OB and we're taking the OB shot.
Yeah. Shocking.
Wow. Now, with that being said, all of our thoughts out there, what about predictions with this format? Who do you think is winning day one doubles? Which teams are the strong teams coming in your eyes?
Well, okay, so we're talking about like 8 of the best players in the world, so it's important to mention that any of these teams can win. On both sides, any of these teams can win. But with that being said, the strongest teams, just looking at it, MPO, are Calvin and Kevin, and then the best team probably is Eagle and Chris. Tough to go against them. So I'm gonna go ahead and say I know you're gonna pick Eagle and Chris you were talking about earlier. So I'll go with my initial thought was that Calvin. I think Calvin and Kevin will be really good. So I'm gonna pick them to win doubles on MPO. FPO, pretty hard. The best teams there, it looked like, were Paige and Heather, because Heather is such a good putter. Paige is such a good thrower.
And putter.
And putter, really, yeah. And then also Haley and Missy looked like a good team. But I would pick Paige and Heather, and then MPO to win it all. I mean, that's a real tough one. I mean, the course plays far, but like, every team pretty much has a guy that can launch, right?
Yeah, I mean, they can all throw far.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and say this just seems like the type of thing that Eagle's going to win. So I'm going to say Eagle wins and Paige wins.
Yeah, so I had Eagle and Chris in doubles and Paige and Heather. Paige and Heather I feel like is the more obvious one because...
Well, they put Kat and Kona together and putting, like, Kat's the second highest seeded player, but putting is her struggle, and she got another player who struggles with putting.
Yeah,
so
when you're looking at worst shot, that's what I'm looking at, worst shot.
Yeah.
And Paige's worst shot doubles, like the worst shot is going to be coming from Heather Young, who literally just came in like third at the U.S. Women's and is a phenomenal putter. So, I mean, I'm not really, there's nothing about that team that I'm like, well, on worst shot, this could hurt them. Because I feel like Heather Young could like hold her own against every single player on that week in and week out. Yeah. And then she's partnered with Paige. So to me, Paige and Heather is a pretty obvious one. The MPO is a little bit more muddied water, but I think Eagle and Chris for the same reason. Because you're looking at worst shot. Eagle or Chris, like my odds are really good in that scenario. Yeah. Not that it's not with Ricky and Nico. I think is an underrated team. I don't think either of them are like end of the year super flashy name, like because we had like obviously Chris with USDGC, then we had Kevin with the Pro Tour. You know what I mean? They didn't do something big like that, but they're also always up there. So like when you're looking at worst shot, it's the same type of thing. It's like Ricky and Nico. I'm happy taking either their drive every time. Like I don't think that's going to be an issue. But I do think that Eagle and Chris, assuming they continued their momentum from last year a little bit, they're going to be really tough to beat. I saw a lot of people posting, freaking out over the Paul Double G, like that they were going to be some formidable thing. I'm just saying in worst shot, like I feel like Double G, no offense to him, is the weakest player in the field. Mm-hmm. And in best shot doubles on a wide open course.
Wide open course, though, Double G will be a force to be reckoned with. And
he will be, but I'm saying
so far,
on a wide open course in best shot, you're not gaining strokes on like none of these players.
There's
going to
be like no separation in best shot.
Yeah, and then in worst shots where the separation is, and I feel like Double G. I mean, no one's a weak link out there, but I feel like out of this field, he would be the one. Like if I'm picking a lineup with Paul, Calvin, Kevin, Ricky, Nico, Eagle, Chris, and Double G, I'm probably picking Double G last, which is why he's the 8th seed. So to me, like when I'm looking at worst shot and you have Eagle and Chris on the table, that's a hard one not to pick them. And with that in mind, that's why I'm also picking Eagle for singles, because I think he's going to come in over, Paul or even like Ricky possibly with like a few stroke lead, and playing singles on a wide open course. It's going to be hard to make up a few strokes on a course that they're not really going to know that well. It's wide open.
Yeah.
And then Paige. I mean, FPO predictions, you're probably going to get sick of it because I'm just going to go ahead and tell you I'm probably picking Paige 95% of the time this year.
Broken record.
Yeah. And I'm probably going to be right about 80% of that 95%. So that's why I'm picking her.
Safe bet.
Maybe we should make a rule where we can't pick Paige. Who's coming in second? Is that the new FPO game? Pretty soon, FPO is going to get muddied water. Like it's going to be
once the
Paige,
Europeans
Haley,
come over,
Evelina. There's going to be a lot more. But
once the Europeans come over, it could tighten up right away.
Yeah, but I don't think that this year we don't know if Europeans are coming over. And secondly, I don't think there's anyone from last year that has proven that they're going to regularly challenge Paige.
No.
I just don't think that's happening. I hope I'm wrong because it'll make for some really interesting golf, but I just don't see that happening. So I think it pretty much covers the All-Star Weekend details that we know of. For this week, it will be interesting to see if they announce anything else. Because we're still 10 days away, so they could still announce skills competitions or something. But
yeah,
who knows? Well, if something like that gets announced, we'll bring it up. But most likely, next week we'll just kind of double down on some of these details. With the All-Star Weekend kind of leading into it. It will be exciting. You're going to be able to watch it on the Disc Golf Network, I believe is the only place. I don't think there's going to be post-produced anything from what I've seen, because they said only on Disc Golf Network.
Makes sense.
So, because this is their flagship
product,
type event type thing. So, another thing that we did see this week, though, was Hot Take Hannum made his comeback.
He did.
He came back with another hot take. So I'm going to read it for you, and then I want to kind of talk through this one because this is a more interesting one.
I haven't seen it, so.
The majority of people in the comments section actually agreed with him.
Okay.
Which was kind of shocking because if you've ever looked at his hot takes, that's not the case.
Usually not.
So he said disc golf tournaments 8 tier and above should only be able to host if they have a private course or a course without public sidewalks or roads. There's no reasons players should have to wait for bystanders that have no clue why we're even in the park. So initial thoughts on that.
Wow. That's a great hot take. Very hot. Okay, so like this almost seems to me like a perfect world scenario type disc golf take. Where, yeah, of course, in a perfect world, we would only like we'd have more control over like who is in the area when we're holding our big events. Right, like we don't want some hiker walking across the path. We don't want to be throwing near cars. But it's a perfect world scenario because it's a little too late in the sense where I think there's a lot of big courses that are like just like ingrained into our sport that are on public property. So that's one thing we would have.
Like what?
Well, the most notable course in our sport is on a public university.
Yeah, at Winthrop.
That's what I'm saying. That's just,
but they do at least shut down the sidewalks and stuff for the most part.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I think control over those is more realistic than just canning them all together, because there's pretty much all of our courses are like on public property. So that part of it, I'm saying, yeah, it'd be great if we had control over things. But A tiers and above, that's another stretch, because like I understand for like an Elite Series event wanting that, but any eight, like the sport's not there yet for just like some random A tier to have that kind of control, to be able to shut something down or whatever it might be.
Well, what takes that? Like, what would it take to get that control?
I guess the sport just has to be big enough that you can convince a parks department or a school.
No, I think you just need money.
Well, yeah, that comes with the sport being bigger.
No, because like if we're going to shut down a course for the park part, if we're like, hey, you can't walk here, we have to rent out the park. And I forget what it was, but it's a lot of parks, really, it isn't that expensive if you're going to fill their park. Like, you're bringing that many people. So for an A tier, it might be like $10 more a player. Okay,
but you're talking about a park in like Lynchburg or Bedford, Virginia. You're not talking about a park in like Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay, so let's go Arizona. Why is the Memorial not on the Pro Tour right now?
Yeah,
this exact reason.
I know, but like maybe I'm saying that sum of money that it costs to perhaps rent that park out is
too much. So that's why the Pro Tour is not on the National Tour, or that's why the Memorial's not on the Pro Tour.
Yeah, so it's not a question of just like we already have the money, let's spend it. It might be that some of the events just don't have the money because sport's not big enough yet.
Well, yeah, but I also would argue that like if the course property has to be designed in a way that sidewalks and stuff are bobbing and weaving in and out, it's probably not a big enough course for a big tournament.
That's fair. I mean, I think obviously when we plan future courses for like big events, then we should always look to do them privately, or at least.
Well, I think public. If you look at the courses that we're going to use for the Battle for Bedford, I think is a great example.
Yeah, at least public property where it's so far out of the way.
Yeah, like Falling Creek, there is sidewalks and there is a parking lot.
They're nowhere near.
No hole is throwing where you're going to be distracted or throwing towards anyone and endangering them.
Right.
And then if you look at New London, there's trails way off to the side, but there's OB that you can't even get to those trails.
Yeah.
No, we were just out there, and there's nowhere that you're walking or you're throwing over a walking path.
Yeah. Well,
same with Vindhorst.
I think the difference in those places is, and I know this is the case at least for like Vindhorst and for New London, I believe too. The first thing that property is used for is a disc golf course. So like disc golf is what broke the ground. Where if you look at like a Fountain Hills Park, disc golf was not the thing that broke the ground in that park. So I think that's what it comes down to. If disc golf is the first thing to break into a park, it establishes that priority, and the trails and things will build around it. Whereas if you just already have a really cool park and try and put a disc golf course on it, there's going to be things in the way. So I think that's where that happens.
What I think he's saying is like, then that shouldn't be a top professional course.
I mean, I can agree with that. I mean, how many examples of that? I'm curious to know what's popping up in his head.
He said Memorial, obviously.
So that's an obvious example.
Milo, MacGyver, Beaver State Fling, and then I forget what the other one. Winthrop did get brought up, but that wasn't brought up by him. Someone else brought it up, and he said, "Don't even get me started on Winthrop." So that'll be interesting. But Milo was one I didn't think of, because that's a course that so many people, like Beaver State Fling, so many people just freak out over that course.
Yeah.
But there is several times that like you're throwing to an island that's across a parking lot. Or
that event isn't quite as, yeah, you're right, but that event isn't quite as big as it used to be.
No.
And I wonder if that's part of it. But the whole him talking about Winthrop, it makes me think like Winthrop scares me, because there is just this, I have this gut feeling that course is not always going to be around because of the fact that it's on the land of a public university. What happens if a new school president gets in charge and wants to do something with that land? You know,
well, the land's used by the university.
Yeah, but like what? I mean, I'm just saying, what if an outside force comes in?
Coliseum.
What if an outside force comes in and says no more disc golf? It could happen,
yeah.
And if it did happen, that is a devastating blow.
Well, I think they're paying a freak ton of money to rent that out that week.
I
forget. I heard
agree.
the number once, and it like made me sick.
But I don't think there's absolute security that we can know that course stays around. And
that is correct.
I think it's almost inevitable that at some point it will be gone, like probably in our lifetime. And if that happens, like that is a big blow to disc golf.
I think what's almost the bigger issue with this is the safety side, to where there's gonna come a day. It's kind of happened, but it's luckily all stayed within disc golf. But there's gonna come a day where a random bystander is walking by and just gets drilled with a Ricky Wysocki forehand or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To where Ricky didn't see him coming. Mm-hmm. I only chose Ricky because he hit the guy in the head. That was a spotter.
Yeah.
Like recently, and that's just where my head went. But where, Ricky or whoever didn't see him coming, and so they just chuck their drive, and then there's a person there or there's a car there. Obviously, the event has insurance and stuff, but now is that event ever coming back to that park or that town?
Yeah, I know.
And it's because it's like that should have been thought through type of a thing. It's somewhat thought through in the course design, but you can't really control, because players are going to walk up and decide lines that a course designer was like, that was not supposed to be there.
That's true. Yeah.
So a line that's like, oh, well, there's a park. Yeah, there's a sidewalk 100 feet past the basket, but the player's just throwing a straight tunnel shot at it. It's fine. And then Simon steps up and throws a Skyhawk or a Skamahawk, whatever, over the top, crushes it past, and it tombstones and hits someone's dog. I
mean, I completely agree in the sense that the sport, like when looking for future locations, especially when they're
even think of like putting. Like you have Paul putting to win a world championship, which at that point, I'm sure the gallery would be massive, but then a random jogger is walking behind.
Yeah.
Like, when you look at it, if that was, and I think Austin even said this, like, if that's Tiger Woods putting at the Masters, and you got Karen with her dog speed walking past him.
But that's just it, though. Like, it's different sport. Not in the sense of, I'm not saying we shouldn't be thinking we're as important as ball golf, but ball golf courses are all privately owned property.
That's what he's saying. It should get to that. Not all privately owned, but all exclusively disc golf, or being able to be shut down.
Well, let me spin this one towards you then, Austin Adam. The reason ball golf can do that is because they charge people to come to those courses so that they can sustain owning a property that is just for that sport. So if you want that, if disc golf is headed in that direction of privately owned courses, unless you have a guy who just loves disc golf and money and has property and just builds a private course, because that's kind of where they've come from so far, guess what? They're going to be pay-to-play courses.
Yeah.
So that's.
I think that
it's not cheap either.
We're not talking about B tier, C tier. Like me and you are going out to have some fun.
Oh, I know.
We're talking about a pro tour, a top tier level course.
I know that this type of thing just doesn't exist yet. And I'm not saying I'm against
Maple Hill.
Okay, that's
the preserve.
Hold on, just 1 second. If you go to
College Nationals is going to be this year.
If you go to that course that doesn't even exist yet though. But I'm saying that
but they just bought a golf course.
But that's new. But is that place? I'm saying that person who bought that course in North Carolina, are they saying we're going to be able to completely fund like Maple Hill? Okay, so like
they're a Christmas tree farm.
They're a Christmas tree farm, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't like buy that property with the intent of we're going to buy this property and we're going to pay for it and pay for everything based on the fact that we charge, based on the money we bring in from charging people to play disc golf.
Well, no, you'd be dumb to only have one source of income from that. That's why golf's going to be slowly dying, because you had to charge out the wazoo for it.
Okay, that was off topic, but
I'm just saying, like, that's not the model. I'm not saying that if I'm buying land, I'm not going to ever be like only disc golf here. You can make so much money off the rest of the land other ways.
That's what ball golf courses are doing. And
that's why they're struggling.
There's lots that are still making money.
Yeah, in Florida and in big tourist areas.
Okay.
Small town golf's always struggled. Always will. Because you got to charge too much or have too much volume, and if it's not a touristy area.
And they do other things too, like have restaurants and stuff like
exactly.
that. There are golf courses. There are golf courses that make money every year, though. It's not dying as much. You act like it's gonna die in the next 5 years.
No, when did I ever say that?
The way you talk about it with such like authority, like ball golf is dying. Where's your sources?
I know of courses, and that I have talked to them about their financials.
Yeah.
And they're very interested in bringing disc golf on because of how much they're hurting.
I've worked at a lot of ball golf courses, and I can tell you that, like, even though like it's tough right now, like there are still a lot of ball golf courses outside of touristy areas that still make money and do very well for themselves.
Yeah.
It's not like they're falling on their face. And disc golf,
No,
like,
but they're not booming.
so what? Okay, so what?
If I'm looking at
so if you want these private courses, then what? How else are they bringing in income?
I don't know. You get creative, like Maple Hill with the Christmas tree farm.
Okay, but that existed before the disc golf course, right?
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but they probably had the Christmas tree farm and then put in a disc golf course on it. So that's what I'm saying. If
But
somebody,
that's great. Every Christmas tree farm in the world we can sell as disc golf. Because Christmas
so
tree
that's
farm,
the model. Christmas tree farms become disc
why
golf
not?
courses.
I'm just saying there's ways around it. But I think that there was another one. They just did a big tournament up in New Jersey type area.
But
there's enough courses that can be top tier level that these top tier events can be at private courses.
Do you not think
or
that,
at least courses like New London or Venhorst, where it might be a public park, but we have such a good relationship we can shut it down for the day.
I'm just kind of curious now. Do you think disc golf will ever get to the point where it can sustain, like you can go to a disc golf course and there's a pro shop and there might be a restaurant and like there's the course and that's what they do? Do you think that'll ever happen?
Probably, but that won't be the main courses. Disc golf will never be a country club sport.
That's nothing to do with country club. You can go to a golf course, a ball golf course that looks nothing like a country club.
I never said it looked like one. I'm saying that a country club to me is
club is you pay a membership fee to be a part of a country club, and then it also includes some comp rounds with ball golf. The only reason ball golf has that name country club sport is because country clubs typically have ball golf courses in them. But there's nothing country club about ball golf.
It'll never be only a pay to play. Like it'll never be. That's not going to be the only model for disc golf. No,
I'm just wondering.
There will be enough players that you can sustain that. Yeah, especially in a Florida, Midwest, California type area where people are traveling there on vacation and looking up where can I go play.
I'm not even trying to be argumentative. I'm just honestly curious about like
how couldn't they?
What the future looks like, because like if you have courses like that, then
because you also have to think about how much cheaper it is to maintain a disc golf property than a golf course property.
Well, you're not wrong. Just mowing alone.
Yeah.
And turf management, I should say, alone. The chemicals and all of it.
You could realistically you could have like a 1 or 2 person team manage a disc golf course.
I mean, you're absolutely right.
And so that alone, you go from charging $50 down to charging 10, 20. Yeah. Maple Hill, I think, is already charging 20 on the weekends. And they're getting away with it just fine because the course is nice enough.
Are they really?
They're going 10, 20 as their model. If the course is nice enough and I'm traveling in to play Maple Hill, I'm not batting an eye at $20.
Yeah, but like if that's your local course,
then you buy a yearly membership. It's probably $200.
They do memberships? Yeah. Interesting. So Maple Hill's out here doing that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's what I'm saying. That's definitely something that like, and especially if that course is on tour to where the Pro Tour has, this privately owned course is like a featured course and everyone freaks out over it because of private courses in general that are made just for disc golf. The fairways are maintained better. It's cut in better because it's just a disc golf course. That's all it is. And so like there's a lot more attention to the disc golf side of the disc golf course. So then everyone freaks out over it. You see it on tour. Now, when I'm showing up to it as a fan, I don't really care what you tell me you're going to charge me because I want to play where I've watched my favorite players play.
Yeah. I just don't think they're going to pop up. I don't think there's going to be very many of them.
I don't think there's going to be enough. My thoughts on this take I never got to, but I don't think there's ever going to be enough that disc golf tournaments A tier and above. I think the A tier is too low.
They're not going to pop up everywhere because,
but once like we were saying,
tour, you can't open a disc golf course with the sense of I'm opening a business, because like even with the Preserve, like it was open because the person who opened it has money. And they wanted to open a disc golf course. It's not like I'm gonna open this disc golf course because I think it can be really profitable.
I think eventually you could. It won't be really profitable. You're gonna have to rely on.
That's what I'm saying.
It would be like Foundation opening a disc golf course, to where like we own the property, the disc golf course, brings in some money, but our online store funds it.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like that's why they won't pop everywhere, because you can't be like, oh, here's land. I'm gonna make a disc golf course, and that's my living.
But you could almost have a tour on courses that you fully control or are privately owned right now, and we're right now in the sport. We're young in the sport, and you could almost do it right now.
Well, you'd have to do it quick because people get attached to courses very quickly, and then when you start moving away from them, then they get upset. Like if we were to move an event away.
But if you move to a better tournament or better course, people aren't going to get upset.
People are suckers, man.
They just removed the memorial from the tour. And how much have you heard people complaining about it?
If they moved Winthrop the USDGC from Winthrop,
Players would love it.
the people would riot. The people would riot.
Fans would be upset.
I would be in.
But as long as the players are there, fans aren't going to care.
They're going to care. They're going to watch the first round and be like, man, it's just not quite as special as the years prior.
Yeah, and guess what happens next year? Everyone's going to watch it again.
I'm just saying, there would be an initial uproar.
Yeah, there's always going to be an initial uproar, but there's going to be an initial uproar every time you change anything.
Well, that's why I said if they're going to do something like that, they need to do it now.
No. They need to make sure the courses are good enough that when they do it, we're removing this tournament, but look at what you just got for it.
Yeah, but what if something happens that's out of their control?
Then you adjust.
And then
you're telling me that if Winthrop called tomorrow to Innova and was like, hey, yeah, you're not doing it this year, they couldn't use the masses of courses in Charlotte and still keep it in the same area and have just as good of a tournament? 100% they could.
It wouldn't be just as good.
It would be just as good.
You're crazy for saying that.
I mean, they'd be able to do it.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be the USDGC.
It wouldn't be the same.
It wouldn't.
But they'd be able to do it.
It wouldn't even be close to the same. It wouldn't even be close to the same.
It would be a different tournament.
USDGC is made completely by the fact that it's at Winthrop. It's become that attached to that course. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's US title. It's Winthrop.
But they could definitely still do it.
Yeah, but it wouldn't. It wouldn't. I would see who won USDGC and be like, and then I would look back and be like, oh yeah, they won, but they didn't really win a USDGC
for the first year or two. And 5 years from now, you wouldn't think that way anymore because you wouldn't have an option.
I wouldn't like it.
It wouldn't matter if you like it.
I want to like it.
And you also have to think of how many players are coming in. A new player coming in, their reality is different from our reality. So if Winthrop,
because they grew up watching Winthrop.
A new player coming into the sport grew up watching no disc golf. I'm not talking about pros.
So that's years before they're even.
I'm not talking about pros.
Pro level.
I'm not talking about pros. I'm talking about fans, because the uproar would be from fans mainly.
Yeah.
So fans coming into the sport, 5 years from now, there's probably gonna be more new fans that have never watched the disc golf we're watching right now than there's fans watching the disc golf we're watching right now. So if Winthrop changed today, we would be in the minority 5 years from now of being like, remember Winthrop? And everyone would be like, no, what was that?
I mean, the Masters is still.
And then they'd probably watch it and be like, why are there mozzarella sticks by the basket 2 feet away? We're so glad this changed.
The Masters is still at Augusta, and it always has been.
Yeah, but we're talking, that's what, 100-some years old?
I'm just saying, disc golf time is like dog years.
You cannot look at me and tell me.
Disc golf time is like dog years. It accelerates.
No, you can't tell me that, Winthrop, I agree, is the hardest one to ever change. I don't think it should change, but if they called tomorrow and said it was changing,
that'd be
it wouldn't be the end of USDGC.
I would be hard. As I know it would be.
Yeah, but as the sport does it, and as you know,
they would have to do a darn good job of making a course that would.
The first year, it would be like the 26 USDGC.
It'd be a funeral, is what it would be.
That's the thing. Okay, so to us, we remember
disc golf funeral.
2016. Disc golf fans from 2016 remember that being the year the hurricane made it shortened round. You know what I mean? And you always remember it as it wasn't a full USDGC.
But then it went back to normal the next year.
No,
and
but great. Let me finish my point. The players coming in this year, they don't look at Jeremy Colling's 2016 title and know it has anything wrong with it.
If they're educated, they do.
Well, you got to see what I'm saying. You can't.
Hardly.
How?
I think I just don't want to let go.
You don't want to see it.
No, I don't.
If they change it to Camp Canaan this year. This year, fans,
what is that?
It's a course near there that's pretty sick.
Okay.
They've done the USDGC doubles there. If they changed it this year, they say we're doing Camp Canaan. Players would be upset, fans would be upset, whatever. 3 years from now, that's USDGC.
But I don't think I'd ever be as excited about USDGC. What makes me excited?
You would.
No, because makes me as excited. You can't. It's subjective, so you can't say that for me.
I can though.
What makes it exciting for me is knowing they're going to play that course that I know, and they're going to throw the holes that I know.
But you'll know the course. You'll know Camp Canaan.
It's
the
different.
Thing that made it.
It's different.
The thing that made it so prestigious is they stuck to one course for this long.
No, it's the course design. It's the course design more. I've seen other courses.
The course design has changed drastically.
I've seen other courses.
They're playing a completely different Winthrop than Ken Climo did.
Yeah, but a lot of it's the same. You're still going to have the island hole in 17, you know?
They can make an island hole. They're playing from a completely different place.
You're still throwing over the pond on 5.
On 2017, if you look back at the 2003 playoff, Barry Schultz is playing a hyzer from 200 feet away into it.
That was the very first one.
Still different.
The essence of the event is still the same.
There might be a person out there. This is what I'm saying. There might be a person out there that remembers that USDGC where he threw like a little hyzer, a rock hyzer in from like being a level playing ground. Right, and they're like, USDGC is just not the same, man, because now their team's
terrible
up top.
example.
That's the exact same thing.
No,
it's not your reality.
A whole different course, a different T-pad, exact same thing. Where's the correlation there?
Trevor, you get what I'm saying.
A and B do not correlate.
You never lived through that USDGC, so to you it looks the same.
Back in my day, I walked uphill through the snow.
We would be those people in this scenario. Back in my day,
maybe I want to be that person.
Back in my day, they played it with ropes. USDGC means nothing without. And the other person's sitting there like, yeah, but look at the course they play on now. This is way better of a course design.
I like that it drives people to insanity. You can't. That course is untouchable, man.
But we don't decide if it's untouchable. We're in zero control of that.
Steer me back on track. Give me off this topic.
You're off the rails. You've gone crazy.
I'm somewhere in Utah.
What?
I took the wrong interstate.
I'm just saying, if it had to happen, everyone would adapt and be just fine, and you'd be smiling.
I would never be
fine.
I would never be fine unless they're playing that thing somewhere so pristine. It would have to blow my mind. I have yet to see another disc golf course that gets me so excited to see coverage on it as Winthrop.
But there's so many people out there that think the exact opposite of you. They hate Winthrop.
I don't know why. I've never seen one. And also, maybe some
You've
players.
You've never read the comments or listened to players talk about that course?
There is unarguably, there's no other course that is so unpredictable, and like the winner of that tournament is just a mystery.
I agree, but you can't say it's because of good course design.
Yeah, I can. No other course is able to do that.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's good for accomplishing that. Yes.
And that's what the sport needs.
It's great.
Mystery.
I love USDGC. But
No,
I'm just saying.
You hate it. That's just saying Hunter hates the USDGC. Next topic.
It's just saying.
Let's make that our next t-shirt.
Trevor needs to be checking to the insane
Hi,
asylum.
my name is Hunter, and
it's time for the fan favorite
disc golf.
segment of Trevor's Trivia.
Yeah, here's your question.
Yeah.
Why do you hate the USDGC?
Oh my god.
All right, listen up. Here's how this is gonna work.
What even was that segment? What just happened?
We are gonna
hot take Hannah. I didn't even get to finish half of what I wanted to say about his tweet.
It's not important. Here's what's gonna happen. Since we just had our ratings update, I figured this could be interesting.
All right.
Basically, the game is you're gonna start with the highest rated player that you know, which you know the highest rated player, and you're gonna work your way down. You're gonna try and name as many players as you can
in order.
No, not in order, but each one has to be lower rated than the one before.
Oh.
And I will fact check you. So
okay, we're starting with Ricky Wise.
You obviously want. Okay, hold on. You obviously, your goal, and I know you're smart enough to think of this. I'm trying to explain it to everybody. Your goal is to keep it as close as possible, so that you can get as many players in before all of a sudden you're at 10-10. You're like, well, start naming Liberty players at that point. But you can go see how far you can go.
Okay, so we're starting it off with Ricky Wysocki.
Okay.
Moving from him to Paul.
Okay.
Moving from him to Eagle.
Mm-hmm.
From Eagle to...
That's where I'm going to start.
Calvin Heimberg.
I think they're tied. Let me double.
You didn't put that in your rule book, sir.
I know. I did just say each one has to be lower rated than the one before.
You did. Are they tied?
Oh my gosh! I think you lost. Wait.
Who's higher rated than who?
You said Eagle and then you said Calvin.
Yeah, is Calvin higher than Eagle?
I think you might just.
Well, I didn't know I could lose the game. I thought it was just how many players I could say.
You already lost.
I didn't think I could.
Calvin's 1051 and Eagle's 1050. The whole point.
Why are you over there laughing? It was 1 point off and it changed today probably.
I know, but like.
All right, so Calvin then Eagle. I mean.
No, the whole point was to see how long you go without messing up.
You didn't say that. You just said how many players I can name.
Well, it'd be darn easier, wouldn't it be, if you just keep naming. Then you can just name how many disc golfers can I name.
Exactly.
No.
I thought it wasn't going to get hard until I got to like 10:30.
All right, I'll give you one pass. All right. I'll give you one pass. You're starting at 1050.
Chris Dickerson.
I think Dickerson's tied, so you just lost again.
I think
it's got to be lower.
All right.
I said lower.
Jeez.
Oh my
Adam Hammes.
gosh, you're trying to be too perfect, I think.
Adam Hammes. I was trying to.
Yeah, Hammes is 1040, so you just jumped 10 points.
Well, you got on me for trying to jump 1 point, so...
I mean, surely there's a few players in there, Kevin Jones being one of them. Missed him.
Let's move on to the next topic. No. Okay, so...
You're at 1040 now, so it's already getting difficult.
Andrew Fish.
Let me check him. He just
He's
updated
1037.
today. Well, he just updated today.
Frick.
So he could be really close. He's still 1037.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay. From Andrew Fish, we're gonna keep it local now. We're just staying local because we got up there. Who's in the 1020s?
You're not even gonna go to any more in the 1030s.
I don't know anyone else in the 1030s.
I think Nico is.
I don't. But Nico could easily be 1038, and then you'd laugh at me because I lost and I suck. So if I'm playing the game, I'm playing the game.
Yeah, just go ahead.
Chris Clemens.
Nico's 1030, by the way. I think Clemens is dirty, so I think you're about to lose again.
He's 1038. I'm gonna throw this mic at your face so fast. Chris Clemens.
He's 1028.
Yeah. Oh crap, that was too low. That was a big jump. Dang it. Okay, 1028. Where are we going from there? Not up. Chris Clemens to
Stephen Curry. That's where you're going to get to eventually. You're going to have to get as low as you can.
I know. Chris Clemens, 1028. Someone who's lower than that. Man, Anthony Barello's really close to that, but I'm not going to say him. I think he's 1016.
Is that your guess?
Yeah, let's go AB next.
He's 1029.
No freaking way!
He went up 5 points today.
Oh my gosh! The rating jump today is killing me.
That. I mean, you're awful with that.
I'm staying right within the range of a few points, and if it was yesterday, I'm killing it.
He snapped like that. I mean, I would like you could have named like 10 players and stayed like 20 points away just by knowing. You could have gone all the way down to like 900.
I was trying to be really good at the game. I could have went Paul McBeth, Hunter Thomas, Trevor Staub, Connor Kennedy. I win.
And you'd have done better than you just did.
But I was trying to be good at the game.
That's a secret with these games, man. You got to try to be average.
All right, let's just move on. I don't want to play your little game anymore.
I got to see you lose like 3 times in a row.
Let's do FPO.
For me. Do that same thing with FPO?
Yeah, but now that I know the game.
Okay.
Paige Pierce.
I got to figure out what she's even rated.
Katrina
I wonder if she
Allen.
went up today.
Paige Pierce, Katrina Allen.
She's still 991.
Kona Panis.
Whoa, I'm going to have to check that one. Just because I'm not
Katrina
sure.
Allen to Kona? Kona's like 920.
I know, that's what I say. I got to know like how far. Why did you drop down so far?
That's how you just told me to play the game.
Yeah, but that was like you dropped down to 926 from 960. Like there's players in skill that are between those two.
Yeah, but if I name Haley King, knowing my luck, she just jumped 15 points and overtook Katrina Allen today, and then you're gonna laugh.
You know that's not true, dude.
All right, so next up we have Shannon Hansi.
I would never laugh at you like that. Haley King is 962. They're actually tied, so yeah, you would have been.
Yeah, exactly my point.
She didn't move up today.
Hansi. Shannon Hans is my next answer.
Shannon Hans, dude. What if she's probably not even renewed?
Boom, I win.
She's 750.
I just won your game. Thank you.
I said how many could you name? There was no way to win.
Then how is there a way to lose?
By just like only getting 3 because you're trash.
I won.
You didn't lose yet. Keep going. Name somebody lower than 750.
Lower than that. I'm going to go to some junior player.
Let's hear it.
I mean, I know her. Okay, I'm going to just look up a junior girls player. There's one on...
You're going to look them up?
Well, there was one on Discraft Underground whose name was like Cece.
All right, well, you know what? You're done. You threw away the integrity of the game the second you picked up your phone.
Trevor, you gave me a game that I was doing fine at.
No, you weren't.
It was
literally, your second guess was wrong. You went from like 10. You went Paul.
They were all
Ricky.
within 1050.
You went Ricky, then Paul. Yeah, but you had to go lower. That was the one stipulation of the game. It wasn't how many golfers.
I assumed it was going to be no, and then like, oh, okay, how about this? Yeah, that's it. Keep going.
Calvin. No, normally that's what I do, but I'm gonna start laying the hammer down on you because I think everybody's sick and tired of this.
Everyone loves it.
Hunter loses, but then we let him keep playing. I want you to lose, and you lose.
But see, you can't just change the rules up really like that.
There was never any rules.
When you show up to work one day and your desk is up front, and the next day it's in the back, just because I decided we're gonna screw the rules. You're gonna show up tomorrow, and that label printer is gonna be plugged in out back in a pile of snow.
When I make up a game, I think when you make up a game, you are therefore allowed to make up any rules you want. Poop ball? I mean, I should have known.
All right.
I had to do it. All right, keep going.
This is the problem with us coming in early to work. It's by the time we get to the podcast, we're delirious.
I know. It's bad.
Oh, all right. On to the next topic.
You can't.
This topic's come up before on the show, but we haven't fully explored it yet. But we were talking about the Blue Ridge Tour, our tour.
Yes.
And basically, we were writing the Facebook group rules, and we wanted to have something where if something happened in our group, there could be repercussions on tour, such as a suspension or something like that. So basically, if someone went into the group and was like cursing out a TD and going off on him in the Facebook group, since in a tour group we were saying, oh, then you could be suspended from the tour for however many events or whatever. But then we realized we don't actually have any control over that because these are just PDGA events, and we're just kind of grouping them together. That led us to thinking that the Pro Tour is in the same boat. Basically, the Pro Tour can't suspend someone beyond the PDGA because the Pro Tour, basically the PDGA owns the Pro Tour events when it comes to sanctioning and rules enforcement. It's the same reason that they can't, like, let's say that Nico misses a putt on live coverage and just yells the F word at the top of his lungs. They can't fine him $50. Because if they said no, then they say you can't play our next tour event. He could say, watch me. Yeah. Because he's just going to sign up.
I think it's an interesting problem, but I think the solution is very clear because I think the PDGA likes the Pro Tour. They seem to be pretty cooperative with them. So I think the very simple solution is just the PDGA and the Pro Tour announcing or establishing that they cooperate when it comes to rules. So if the Pro Tour fines you or suspends you, the PDGA goes along with it. Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to go simple. I want a full step farther.
I mean, I think that's a solution.
I was basically wanted to go through and like talk through, should the Pro Tour split from the PDGA? Like, what are the pros and cons of them being PDGA sanctioned events versus not being?
Yeah.
What does it allow them to do? Because I think that this fining whole idea thing, which that's not even the Pro Tour's idea, that's my idea to try to come up with a scenario where this might happen, is just one of many that could come up because the Pro Tour doesn't actually own their event per se. So when I was just thinking through some pros of splitting, if this were to actually happen, it would give the Pro Tour the full control of the tour and schedule. Because right now they have to get the dates still approved by the PDGA, and they have to work with the PDGA to have the national tour dates kind of coincide. And I'm sure that if the Pro Tour wanted a national tour event, they couldn't have it because it's PDGA's national tour. Right. So it gives them full control on that. It also gives them full control on registration for said events, because now there's no limit on, if you want to limit the field to 950 rated players only, you can do that. That's something that Ledgestone was toying with the idea, and the PDGA said no. This is a Pro Tour event. Ledgestone wanted 950 minimums. They were at least messing with the idea in their head. The PDGA said no, and they had to do tiered registrations. So then, like, tour cards and stuff, it makes you think that, like, tour cards couldn't actually happen unless the PDGA approved it. So the Pro Tour basically can only advance as far as the PDGA lets them. And then, obviously, it would allow tours to fine players. Cons of splitting would be ratings and the possibility of players not liking the move are the only two I came up with.
Yeah. I think the only big con is it would be an interesting. I'd rather see the PDGA just step into the background, be a governing body, and them like collaborate, because the PDGA has established themselves so much in their sport that like a split could be a little messy. Yeah. The biggest repercussion would be the ratings, no doubt. But if the money was still there, the players would get over that. Yeah. I mean, there would just be a big stir. I just don't think it's necessary. I think I think the PDGA is going to cooperate, and I think they can coexist.
I think as long as the Pro Tour becomes the only tour, it's not necessary.
Which I think is happening anyways.
As long as the national tour gets absorbed into the Pro Tour, then sure, because then
that's the only problem.
The PDGA can put all their tour cards in one place.
Right, and there's no tour. And they also,
if that doesn't happen, then I am an advocate of splitting if it didn't happen, because to me, the PDGA is the governing body and the sanctioning body of the thing, but they're not the tour body. They're not controlling the Pro Tour.
The whole not allowing tiered registration thing really does bug me, though.
Yeah.
That bugs me a lot.
Yeah.
Like that if that were to persist and they couldn't come to an agreement with that, then you'd have to split, because especially because if they're not allowing that sounds like they're not going to allow tour cards.
Yeah.
Which is like something that I know the Pro Tour is probably thinking about and needs to head in that direction. Like there's going to come a day, which I think the day is already here, but like where we need to have qualification for the Pro Tour.
Yeah. And then that might require you to not be.
So that might be the breaking point.
Yeah.
Is that.
This might be a topic we got to bring up for a different day, because I think we're about to start running a little long here. But it's definitely an interesting topic to think through. So while in the comments, because we might be coming back to this topic, put your ideas on pros and cons list of the Pro Tour staying with the PDGA or splitting and being a non-sanctioned tour, to where they still have the prestige, the money, all of that, but they basically just don't have ratings and they're not a national tour type sanctioned event, not elite series event. Put your thoughts on that in the comments down below. I'm definitely interested to hear them out and think through them. I don't have 100% stance on it. I lean towards like kind of what you said. Like if it becomes the only tour, then sure, why? There's no need to fix it if it ain't broken. Yeah. But if it is broken and there continues to be like little things of like the Pro Tour wants to do this, but they got to get approval through the PDGA first for them to be able to enforce it, then that's where there's issues.
Yeah.
Basically.
Agreed.
But let's time to head to the final segment for the show, which is Make That Call. This scenario for Make That Call was actually submitted by a listener. I remember the scenario, but I could not find the message to give this listener credit. But this happened to them, this general scenario.
Ooh, fun.
And they thought it was a pretty interesting one. And I think you're going to know the answer to this, but I don't actually know if you will, because it's not something we've ever come across. Because in this scenario, you're playing in a tournament out west with the 2-meter rule in effect.
Oh, gosh.
So you throw an upshot to an elevated pin, and it happens to hit a tree next to the basket, filters down through the tree, and lands on top of the basket, but your disc is resting now 8 feet up in the air. What is the stroke penalty, and how do you play out the hole?
First of all, that's preposterous. You also just said, what is the stroke penalty?
Yeah.
You didn't say, is there a stroke penalty?
Yeah.
So you're just already giving me that there is a penalty.
Or I just worded it that way to screw with you. I don't know.
You know. You
all
always
right.
do.
So what's the stroke penalty, and how do you play out the hole?
I don't know. Yeah, because I don't know any of the language surrounding the 2-meter rule, because it's the dumbest rule ever. Well, it isn't. It isn't. I understand why it was created. It was created in California because they didn't want people to throw over top of trees. They wanted to throw tunnels.
Yeah.
But it's dumb because I don't think pros don't play at courses like that anymore. I feel like at the courses they play these days, you really only can throw.
Yeah, but the 2-meter rule is just not in effect ever.
It's dumb. Here we go. So he's on a top of a basket.
8 feet in the air.
So the only way he's not taking a penalty, and 2-meter rule, you take it from like underneath the lie, right? Like the lie would almost be in the basket. That would be a fascinating one. If it's just like it counts, but you get a penalty. So like unless there's a little excerpt written about elevated baskets, then you have to take a penalty. I'm going to say that so if there is language in the rule book saying if it's on a basket that doesn't count as a 2-meter rule, then obviously that's fine. But I'm going to say that there isn't in there.
Okay.
And I'm going to say he has to take it like he has to take like a mandatory. He gets like up to 2 meters or up to 1 meter off of the elevated basket, and he gets a stroke penalty. He's putting, so that was his drive.
No, it was upshot.
So he threw 1, 2. He's putting for 4 from 1 meter away from the elevated basket.
Wrong on both fronts. So there's no penalty throw.
Thank goodness.
A disc supported by the target for the hole being played is not subject to the 2-meter rule.
Okay.
But even in general disc golf, if a disc rests on top of the basket, you just take it directly below, like touching the pin, is where your lie is. It would suck on an elevated basket.
Well, I was hoping he would at least get, if it was part of the penalty, he would at least get 1 meter off.
No, yeah, you don't get relief. Even in 2 meter,
we didn't need relief.
Even in 2 meter, if you're like up in the middle of the tree, your lie is directly below it.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm glad there.
But yeah, there is language.
The
language says a disc supported by the target for the hole being played is not subject to 2 meter.
Well,
rule.
thank goodness.
So I knew you wouldn't know that rule.
I'm glad I'm wrong.
So is that the second week in a row I've stumped you? Did I stump you last week? Did I stump you last week?
I don't remember.
Connor doesn't remember either. I don't know. I feel like I stumped you recently. I feel good about it.
2 weeks ago, you stumped me and you were wrong.
That's true. 2 weeks ago, I stumped you. I was wrong. You were right. So I didn't actually stump you.
You may have got me last week.
All right. Well, this next episode is definitely going to have more defined Trevor's trivia rules so that I can know what game I'm playing before I go in.
I just figured you would kind of pick it up. It wasn't like very unintuitive.
Well, I thought that I just didn't think that I was going to be able to like...
To get one wrong and not keep playing?
I just assumed you wanted me to see like...
With the second camera
how many
angle,
players
I'm just going to throw like gym looks all the time. Just...
I just thought you would want me to know. I just thought you would want me to like see how many I could keep within that like range. Because I was within like 3 or 4 all the time. And like you're just over there laughing at me like I just went from Paul Macbeth to Lloyd Weema. Like I did it, okay? I went from Paul to Eagle and you're like, oh my, this guy. Like, no. I mean, come on. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed listening. We'll be back with a new episode next week. If you're listening to it on Apple Podcasts, please leave a review. We read them all and we take them very seriously, unlike the show. This episode is all over the place because, I mean, it also doesn't help having an audience member in Connor who's producing the show because then when we get going and we're laughing, he's laughing and it makes it harder to keep a straight face the whole time. But, no, we really do take it very seriously. We really appreciate the feedback, and we use it to improve the show, the look, all of that. And the same goes for YouTube comments. So wherever you're at, please engage with us. We really appreciate it, and we'll respond as well. I don't know if we can respond on Apple Podcast reviews, but if we can, I'm going to find a way, and we're going to do it. But thanks again, and we'll talk to you all next week.
See ya.